Let's hear from Amanda, who has two boys that both received an autism diagnosis at an early age. She describes the stress of trying to find therapy and services, as well as her boys' progress.
My name is Amanda Wise. I live in Palm Bay, Florida. I have my 5-year-old son, Sean, is on the autism spectrum, and my 2-year-old son, Kamin, was just diagnosed a few weeks ago and is also on the autism spectrum. At the very beginning of our autism journey, when Shawnee was a baby, when he was about 2, we had some red flags. He was doing a lot of lining up his toys and hand flapping. He was not speaking as much as we would hope he would be at that age. And we really did not know much about autism at all. We kind of had some concerns. So with Shawnee, we found a family member told us about a federal program available at each state level that helps with early intervention of children ages 2 and under, or maybe 3 and under. But so that program helped get us started on our journey and led to us finding a place to get a diagnosis, which actually is a lot harder than you would think. There's long waiting lists to get a diagnosis, and it was a stressful time because I wanted to get him early intervention as soon as possible, because I was just learning about autism and everyone was saying early intervention is key, and I felt like without the diagnosis, I couldn't get him the services he needed. So that was kind of a stressful point. And luckily, we were able to get him in a research study to get his diagnosis done. As a mom, I noticed that Shawnee was not really interacting with other kids the way that I saw other kids interacting with each other. He would pace a lot, like walk around. So like if I took him to the playground, some of the other kids would be on the playground playing, and Shawnee would like to walk the perimeter. And he was just a lot of visual stimulus. Like he would like to walk around the fence because of the lines on the gate. And I noticed that he wasn't really engaging with the other children. I noticed that he wasn't always looking at me when I called his name, that he didn't seem to follow directions that I was asking him to do, and a lot of times he wasn't requesting or responding when we asked questions, or if he needed something. It was like more of that I just knew in my heart that he needed it, or I had to ask him for if he was, if he wanted a food item or water. It was not, he didn't really ever come to me and ask for things like other kids, and there was no pointing. So that was kind of the reason we started to see that, he needed intervention. Yes, initially with Shawnee, we've noticed that he was not eating a lot of different variety of foods. He preferred hard, crunchy foods, anything with texture, like soft, or if it has like even like Cheez-Its that are white cheddar where it has a little bit of the cheese dusting on it, he wasn't interested in that. And anything typical foods like spaghetti. The main things that Sean wanted to eat was chicken nuggets. And well, at first he didn't even eat chicken nuggets. It was just, he got to a point where he was only eating Cheerios and graham crackers and things that were hard and crunchy. And when we were lucky enough later on to get him into a feeding service, but at first, him not eating foods that I would prefer him to eat that were nutritious was really stressful. It would literally make me feel sick to my stomach because I was worried about him. I always, with my older 2 daughters, I always wanted them to eat healthy, and it was a struggle getting him to come to the table, sit down, and even try new foods was very challenging. With Kamin, my younger son, He is a little bit similar. He tries a little bit more items. So I don't think he has as many sensory issues, but he still prefers, like both of my boys now, they love chicken nuggets, and it has to be a certain brand, certain cooked a certain way. And if it's not, then, they're not interested. Like they want them, Shawnee, especially my older son, Shawnee likes them super crunchy. Like he doesn't like if they're, not cooked fully. And, Kamin does try a little bit more items, but he is the same, that he has his staples of things he prefers right now. When through the years of Sean and now Kamin being on the autism spectrum, I've learned to choose my battles, and I've learned that our life doesn't look like everyone else's life, and that a lot of people, it's hard for them to understand what our life looks like. So going out in public, or going somewhere and doing something that typical families could very easily do, looks very different for us. It's very challenging. It can be very isolating. My oldest son has meltdowns quite often, and something as simple as trying to get him to use the restroom in public can lead to him screaming and crying. And it's very, in those moments you feel very alone and very overwhelmed. It's almost like you want to scream and cry with them, because it can be so much. But there's always the good people. There's always the good guys, the angels in life, the people that are there and they see you and they see your struggle. Like one time I went to Starbucks, and my son had to use the restroom, and this was when he was first learning to use the restroom on the toilet. A lot of children on the spectrum are not potty trained and struggle with potty training. So we were there, and my son Shawnee was having a full-blown meltdown, and I was trying so hard to help him. I believe I was pregnant with Kamin, and it was just totally overwhelming. It was one of those moments where I felt like I couldn't do it. I couldn't make it through the moment, and I had to leave Starbucks without my drinks because I had to get him in the car and get him situated. And the barista there, a young man, literally brought my drinks to the car and was so sweet and kind and just gave me kind words and understood and had empathy. And in those moments, something like that just makes such a difference in your day, and just to know that people are there for you. And as you walk your journey with autism, you start to talk to different people, and they say, oh, my nephew has autism. Oh, my best friend's son has autism, or, my daughter has autism. And you don't, before your child's diagnosed, you don't really hear about it as much. I don't know. It's like once you have the diagnosis, or you understand there's something going on, all these people start coming out and telling you that they get it, or they know someone. And even the people that don't, they look to you and they ask questions. And a lot of it's online nowadays, especially with COVID. There's a lot of families and individuals that reach out to me. I like to post a lot about it. At first, I didn't feel very comfortable posting about my son having autism, because at first, it's a journey, it's a path, and in the beginning, it's challenging, and it's new, and it's uncomfortable. And I had some exposure to learning about autism in college and my undergrad, but to live autism is completely different than to learn in a classroom a little bit about it. And once you get into your path and journey, you'll find your voice and your comfort in it. And as you learn with your child's teaching you along the way, you learn you have a strength you didn't know you had. And your children, they give you so many life lessons. And I even view people differently now. Like I sometimes you think someone might have, issues, and you just realize that people are human and they're somebody's child, and you kind of understand that everyone has their own struggles and challenges. And, sometimes now I see somebody that's homeless or somebody that's having issues, and I'm like, well, maybe they have something going on that we're not aware of, that they might need some help or, support. So it really changes you. And honestly, I feel like it's made me a better person. It's helped me grow up and grow as an individual and be more kind. And I hope sharing my sons with the world will help share that with other people, the acceptance, the love, the diversity, the understanding that although to them, especially my son Shawnee, might just look like he's screaming or running around aimlessly, he's actually really intelligent and he has a lot going on inside of him. He's a sweet, kind boy, and he has a lot to offer the world. If I had the opportunity to speak to a parent who just received a diagnosis, or even a parent that has not received a diagnosis but has some warning signs or red flags, I would let them know that, I feel like the beginning's the hardest part, when you're just learning about autism and you're not aware of what's going on, and everything's new and it's very scary, and it feels like you're kind of treading water in a unknown territory. I would let them know that there's tomorrow offers more support, more education, and along the way of their journey with autism, every day is a day to learn and grow. And all as you are going through your autism journey, just having more information and insight, and a lot of the things that I've learned have come from resources online, support groups online. I think online sometimes with autism families is better because honestly, autism makes it hard to do daily tasks that everyday families do without any problems, like going to the grocery store or going to, a movie or going to the mall. There's struggles in all of that. There's meltdowns, there's hard moments. And in the beginning, it feels like, how are you going to do this? Like you're maybe drowning. But along the way, you find all these life rafts and people that are your helpers and information that helps you understand your child more and gives you empowerment and lets you know that it's going to be okay. And the further you get along your autism journey, although the challenges change and the struggle continues, you grow and you become an expert for your child, and it becomes easier, and you accept that your life may look different, but that it's beautiful and your child's amazing and that it's part of your journey. I feel like in the beginning it felt terrifying. I just felt totally blindsided. I mean, you have a child and you don't think, oh, my child might have autism. You just imagine, your life with neurotypical children. You don't, it's not even a thought. And so when you kind of find out, oh, there's something going on, that, my child's struggling as a parent, it's really hard to watch that. My son, Sean, is nonverbal, and not being able to express your feelings or thoughts, I can't imagine, honestly. I mean, I'm a big talker, so not being able to say, oh, I don't feel well, oh, my stomach hurts. As a mom, I get anxiety, like very stressed, especially if Shawnee gets sick, because I don't know that his throat hurts. I can only speculate what I see. And the beautiful part of being an autism mom, especially if your child's nonverbal, is the bond you get with your child. You're able to notice things. You're very insightful. It's like your senses become heightened. So I can tell before he gets sick a lot of times, like I can just see that something's not right. We have an unspoken bond, and I feel like I know a lot of times what he needs without him being able to physically ask me. But I think the main thing is during the first 2-3 years of your autism experience is to know that you're not alone. There's tons of families, parents, and individuals that have family members with autism, and you have a community. It's finding those people. It's finding the good people, the helpers, the people that are going to encourage you, love you, and be a part of your experience and make it a better one. The hardest part of our autism journey has been probably the isolation and the feelings of being alone. It's with all the things that come along with autism. It's and the fact that as parents, you find out your child has autism. You're experiencing all this by yourself. A lot of people don't understand, and a lot of your friends' children behaviors look very different than your own child. So it's easy to withdraw socially and kind of retreat into your safe area of your home or wherever you feel comfortable, because naturally your child with autism prefers those areas anyway. So you start to feel like, if I go to the mall, I developed anxiety about it. If I go to the mall and he starts getting really upset and everyone's staring at us and he's upset and I'm upset, or even more than other people staring at us, what if he runs away? Or what if he, just wanders off when I turn around for a second? Those thoughts become fears and anxiety and nightmares. I've had bad dreams about my son Sean getting hit by cars or drowning. There's higher rates of drowning with autism, and a lot of kids on the spectrum elope, where they leave the house and you don't realize they have left. So I think the hardest part of the journey is that you feel socially isolated, and the fears of things that could happen can really take control of you. And part of my experience and journey has been overcoming those fears and pushing not only myself, but my child out of our comfort zones. And that is where the growth comes in. Because if you always stay stagnant and comfortable, there is no growth. So the hardest challenge I feel is that you have to push. You can't give up. You can't give in. You have to keep pushing every day to make your life a better experience and to just try. The more you push, the more your life becomes exciting. Like the more I'm trying to, the reason I'm struggling with this is I don't want to say normal. I don't like saying that now that I have a child with autism, but the more that you push your child to get out of their comfort zone and yourself, the more that your child will be comfortable with it, and the less that you'll have the bad experiences, like the meltdowns. It's just getting through that part. It's the messy part, and it's hard. My son hated the beach, and honestly, we stopped going for a while. But just recently, we've been trying to push to the beach, and the other day he would scream and cry and try to run back to the car, and we'd put him on the blanket. So because of the sand, with sensory issues, he didn't love it. And the other day he kind of used the shovels and was digging in the sand while sitting on the blanket. And then when we left, he got upset. And it was like, those moments become the moments that you live for. And my husband and I, we have all these small victories that other people without children on the spectrum would be like, okay, whoop-de-doo or big deal, but like we have a moment where our son, says a couple words or he was playing with a shovel in the sand and he's 5 years old. But to us, those are the big moments, the achievements. That's what all the hard work's for.